What a time for growth in the garden. This is just, I think it's just 2 weeks since I did my last squash video. Not even 2 weeks, probably about 10 days. And I did kind of warn people that this would be like a carpet and you wouldn't be able to see the ground just shortly, and that's the case. The other patch behind me, over this way, isn't as great. There's growth, there's fruit, but there is a little bit of yellowing. I mean, a lack of nutrients down that end, and I think it's mainly because of all of the other things that are there. And you may have seen a small snippet at the start of the video of some of the squashes that I found. But what I found today is, when I arrived, that all of these leaders were coming out on the path, and so I've decided to build a support and try and train the ones that will climb up there, and the ones that won't, I'll just turn back in. So likes of the gem squash and the curries and stuff, they'll have no problem growing up this, which is partly why they're quite close to the front and not at the back. And that should help. It's not a strong support, it's temporary. We'll see how it goes, and I'll probably strengthen it a little as we go. It's just really to stop things coming across the path and having this kind of thing happen to them. People standing on them, and that was kind of a waste because that had a little fruit forming on it. In fact, I had two, but I would have probably picked one of them off anyway. So just a quick recap. I had to make a map the other day of where everything was just before the actual labels for everything disappeared, so I know which plant is which. But you can kind of tell by the leaves because the leaves are different. I mean, I know, for example, that that's a gem squash leaf, the little one in the middle, and I know, for example, that is not a gem squash leaf, and that is a rather big plant at the back there. I can't tell you what it is off the top of my head though. I need to consult my map, which is why we have them. Now, as you can see, lots of flowers appearing. Most of these are male flowers, although we've had some female flowers, which is why we have fruit. For example, there, that one you've probably seen at the start of the video, that is a candy roaster squash. That's gonna probably, I mean, that's the length of, just for scale, the length of my hand at the minute. But that would probably get to about the length of my arm in very short order. It'll grow very quickly, and then it'll get left. Everything will get left until around about late September, October, depending on when the frosts are coming. If I think a frost is coming, I'll harvest them early and harden them off indoors. But at this moment in time, we leave them until October, all of the squashes apart from the butternut squash will cure in our climate here in Scotland. The butternut squashes won't so much, so they're smaller. This is very small. It hasn't got what you would call a proper leader as such at this moment in time, so we're going around the edges here. That's the edge of the plant, and disappears under there, and there's a small leader coming out from it. Yeah, there we are. So the leader comes out, and here it is here. Never squash on it yet. Little squash? No. Not as yet. No squashes. That's a shame. But it'll grow plenty of squashes outdoors in our climate. But I will need to harvest them when they get to full size to harden them off indoors, because they won't harden off in our climate. The butternut squashes need a lot of warmth in Scotland. Which you don't get in Scotland, should I say. There's the other one here, the other butternut squash at the back. As you can see, it struggles with low temperatures, so if things get below 10, say, it'll go like this. The leaves will go like that, as opposed to all these other ones that are perfectly healthy and perfectly happy growing in our climate, which is good. So these are, I think there's 5 in each bed here. Every one of them, I checked yesterday, every single one of them has got fruit at this stage, and I showed you some of them. The original curry fruit is not going to come to anything. That's the one that came first. So I'm just going to break that one off. That's not going to grow. That's become kind of rotted. The leaf it's attached to, as you can see, the yellow's creeping up the leaf now as well. It's not unusual for the stalk to be yellow. That's not a bad thing. But it's not liking it where it is. As you can see, there's lots of little other curries coming on it, squashes. Probably too many because there's one on every node here. So I'll break some of them off. As you can see, it's the same on this leader stem from the same plant. There's a fruit on every node. Not all of those fruits will come to anything. So that's the curry. If we match up here, I'll show you the Marina di Chioggia, which is one of the best squashes you can grow, really. They're fantastic, but they start off looking like that. Lovely little round, shiny balls before they go all misshapen and warty later in life. Oh, they don't go warty, but they do kind of go all sort of wrinkly and what would you call it? Wrinkly and crevassed is probably the word, because they do have lots of sort of deep cracks in them when you get to that stage. I haven't brought one to that stage yet in this allotment. Just having another look around, see if I can see any more while I'm down here on my knees. Yep, there's a little gem squash down there, coming along nicely. The gem squashes are fantastic. They're the only ones that will get harvested as they come ready, so they will not be left until October. As soon as they're ready, they'll be getting eaten. Our other little squash bed over here is the one I'm talking about. The reason this one over here is getting attacked so much, this Maroc, is because, as you can see, all this sort of mildew. The other Maroc has that, but it's not as bad. It's struggling in here, I think. There's not enough nutrients for it. At the back there we've got a sweet dumpling, which is still very small. I would expect that to be a lot bigger by now, on a par with, say, the gem squashes, which are fairly stretching out. I didn't show you that. They're actually climbing up the greenhouse there, or trying to. This one here, the curry, this is the other curry. As you can see, it's a lot smaller than the other one. It's got a fruit that's probably more viable than the other one that's growing. It doesn't have one on every node like the other one, which is probably a lot healthier. But all of this that you see here, these little yellow markings, that's not disease, that's just it's a little bit of stress. So there's not enough of something in the soil, and it's probably water. It's probably water. This is a very dry part of the ground. We have been getting a bit of water, a bit of rain in the last few days, but for the most part it's been quite dry for the last few weeks, so they're struggling a little bit. This blue Hungarian as well, as you can see, the leaves yellowing a little bit. That's probably more nutrients, whereas this is maybe a lack of water. This is a lack of nutrients. That is something different altogether. But they're all the fact that that's small, this one's yellowing, that one has the mildew and is getting attacked, and this one has the yellow dotting. Tells me that there isn't enough nutrients here. Although right over here underneath we have a blue Hungarian squash and a candy roaster right next to it. So this candy roaster again is also struggling a little bit for nutrients. You see that, the yellowing, but it's still managing to push out a fruit which feels quite healthy. That is the blue Hungarian. This is the first year I'm growing this. I can see other fruits in the background for that. Let's zoom in. Another one there. So they're healthy enough, they're surviving, they're going to give us squashes, but they're just not completely happy. There's another one on the end, the blue Hungarian. So I'll go across and show you the other couple of squashes on the other side of the allotment that I thought were screw-ups, but they're actually turning out okay. In the same squash update video last week, I did show you the bean stalk, or the bean pyramid, the bean teepee. It was just a lot bigger now than it was, but I did show you that in the middle of that I planted a gem squash plant to do the two sisters type thing. And originally its leader wanted to go that way, but I didn't want it to get in amongst the peas, which gets worse and worse every time I look at it. Its leader now goes this way. So I had it climbing up. I tied it up on this side to one of these poles here. I tied it up just to force it to come this way. And I might bring it round again because it's now going across the path into the other squash bed, the small squash bed here. But when I initially filmed it, the fruit shape was like that on the one that I showed you, which I thought, that's crossed with something, that's not right, because it should be a ring ball. But as you can see up here, you would have seen it at the start of this video, it's kind of getting the ball shape now, so it's not a screw up, it's just a, I don't know, aberration. We'll call it an aberration. But there's plenty on that. That squash that's there will probably be ready in the next week or so. So that'll be a fun video to watch. Me scoffing down on a gem squash, yeah. This is, I don't know what it is, because I don't think I did. I marked them. I marked them with very brittle. It is a little gem. That's not a little gem. There must be another one here. No, no marker. I'm fairly sure though that this one is a blue banana, that one and this one are both the same and they're both Hubbards. There's no fruit on that one yet. No fruit on the blue banana, but I just spied that we have a Hubbard. Now this is a what's called an Anna Swartz Hubbard squash, and I got this from Real Seeds down in Wales, realseeds.co.uk. Go and have a look, you'll see what these are supposed to look like when they're full size. That's quite a surprise actually, because these were just spares. I don't have any fruits for the Hubbards that I've planted in the main beds over there, so that's a surprise. There's maybe more nutrients, maybe they're rooting in there. There's chickens in there, probably getting some chicken manure goodness, which is launching them. Oh, raspberries. And in this pile here, somewhere, there's another squash. The squash itself doesn't need to be covered, it's not in there. It's not, the cover isn't here for the squash, the cover is here for the kohlrabi and the cabbages. But the squash was stuck in there because there was a space and I had a spare. And there's fruit coming on that as well. Just lift this up and get underneath the net for a bit. There we are there. That looks like a blue banana. I'm fairly certain it is. I do have a tendency in the sort of main beds to label everything. But then if I do have spares, I'll kind of just dot them around and surprise myself what they are later on in the year as they come ready. So there's only two more really. And those are the two other spares that I planted in the polytunnel. We've got a Muscade de Provence at the back there, which is growing slow, but it's just started to pick up now. And I don't see any fruits or anything on it. It should grow better in here. Obviously because we're in the polytunnel, it's a bit warmer for them and they're not getting exposed to all the elements. This one here is a candy roaster, another candy roaster, and it's growing in amongst the weeds and stuff. But there's no, it's all male flowers so far on this. All male flowers, nothing, no fruit. So we'll give that one a chance still. It's still got a lot of catching up to do. They were planted a lot later and they were stunted because obviously I had nothing, I had nowhere to put them originally. So they stayed in the pot a little bit longer. So it took them a little while to get the roots down in here and spreading. I mean, it's quite fertile in here. This was only just mulched with mushroom compost, I think, towards the end of autumn last year. So they should get going fairly soon. So that's it for the squash update. It looks like we're going to have a good harvest come October time, but we will keep an eye on it, and I will do kind of more updates. Not as many updates as the chilies, because not much is going to change with these apart from they're going to get bigger. So the next time I do a video, these will probably be up to there and starting to pull this over under the weight, and that'll do. Well, you know, you just have to stay tuned to see that. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you in the next update.